Hi, a very good evening to all our Pioneer residents tuning in live on this Facebook Live session this evening. And thanks for following our various pages, my own Facebook community page, as well as our Pioneer Community Facebook page. We're going to have this evening a very, very special guest. And today's topic, unlike previous months, as you know, we have a monthly Connect Pioneer series. And this evening, we're going to touch on something a bit more leisure, more recreational, more fun, and more social about photography. And with us this evening is Chin Hock. We'll let him share more later. I know he has lots of slides and lots of useful information to share. But I thought this session is important because many of us take photos, like myself too, with our cameras, sometimes with SLR cameras, and with all these digital cameras and devices. We are taking pictures so much more than ever, whether at home, whether of our food, whether of scenery or unique things that we see, or even sometimes occasionally short video clips to post on Instagram or TikTok. So photography is getting more and more, a big hobby amongst many of us. And later we'll hear more from Chin Hock. But more importantly, this evening session is dedicated for all of you to tuning in to pick some useful tips. So we'll break this session into two parts. Shortly, we'll get Chin Hock to share with all of us, including myself, and all of you tuning in on some of the final points or some tips, especially if we are using a variety of cameras, including our phone cameras, to take pictures, and how to maximize lighting, how to maximize angles and stuff like that. We'll hear more from him, the resident expert. In case you do not know, Chin Hock is mentioned many times, both in mainstream media as well as social media on many of his endeavors. I will not go through his whole CV, but you probably, if you Google his name, you probably see many hits about the things that he do and the photos that he take. But at the same time, also this evening session, I hope all of you, whichever platform you're tuning in by, please like and share so that more of our friends of Pioneer, your friends and family members can benefit from some of the pointers in the next 45 minutes or so. And the first part of the segment, Chin Hock will share, but the second part, we'll do a short Q&A with everyone so that you can post all your questions on the comments of our Facebook pages, and we'll try to pick those questions up and pick the brains of Chin Hock, who will share with us all the final points and all the expert details. Yeah, I'm not a professional in photography. I take pictures like all of us, of food, of family members, and of our community, and of course, whenever we have gatherings with friends and colleagues. But more importantly, this evening, a session dedicated to all of you Pioneer residents tuning in. So this is our Connect at Pioneer series. Continue to like, share. Some of you may be doing this or watching this subsequent to the live session. Please, share with your friends as a watch party, and continue to like and share our Facebook pages along the way. And on that note, I will now hand the time over to Chin Hock, who will take you through some of the practical tips and handles for better photography. Chin Hock, up to you.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. Wow, that was a very generous and kind introduction. Okay, I must qualify myself. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. Every day is a learning journey for me. Okay, let me introduce myself. I'm Chin Hock. Good evening, Pioneer residents. I'm working full time in the healthcare sector. This photography is my hobbies, so you can consider me as a hobbyist or what they call it, AV photographer. So today we'll cover two elements. First is lightings, some key essential information on lightings, and next segment will be on compositional technique, which I will have a very short hands-on so that you can relate. You can marry the theory and you can see how it comes into play in real life. So without further ado, let's move to the next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so a very quick introduction. I started photography since 2011. I mean, that was the time when my first child arrived. I was really excited. I wanted to take better pictures, and hence I delved deeper into photography, taking it more seriously. I'm author of a few photo books. Father Mother is written in Kinokuniya. I use it to promote filial piety, and a few other books like siblings. Thankfully, the book was awarded the book best new talent in the Paris photo competition in 2019. And just last year, I compiled another photo book, Memories of the Circuit Breaker, and it was also being recognized. Just recently, I compiled another book. Hopefully to uplift the food delivery riders. So it was titled "Trench to Fill You Up." So my works have been featured in this Nia photography exhibition from 2015 to 2021 consecutively. I was also the former Sony mobile photography facilitator. I helped to facilitate some of the workshops. So when I'm not taking pictures, I like to write and I like to reflect. So I'm also contributing articles to the Families for Life. So without further ado, these are learning outcomes. As I mentioned, we'll talk about light, and we talk about composition technique and the short hands-on. So before we move on, I'd like to ask, have you taken any of these pictures? Pitch dark, you just wonder, is it space or universe? Okay, so this is a picture of my kid and her grandmother when they were in this room. But you see, it's almost like pitch dark. You can't recognize, the subject, the objects in it. So have you taken pictures like this? It's like overly exposed. And how about this? And this. So you see, if you have taken pictures like this before, after a period of time, you ask yourself, where is this place? So I think just want to list up some of the common frustrations, when we take pictures in poor lightings. It usually results in washout images, pixelated images, and often they're blurred and filled with indistinctive object. But I think ultimately the pictures, when you take it in a poor lighting situation, it's not able to evoke the emotions, the emotions that you experienced when you first took those pictures. And hence, I want to illustrate the importance of lightings. So it is a key factor in creating a wow image. So photography, if you ask me, personally, I feel that it's really about lighting. Although in the sea of camera settings, other variables, to me, personally, it's really about light. If you are able to get this element right, very likely, I think with practice, your pictures will definitely come true as wow. You can use it to wow your audience. So there are a few types of lights that I will go through. So first of all, there's this studio light. Okay, so perhaps I just want to qualify. So throughout the slides, you'll see some of the pictures that are taken by myself. So those pictures that are not taken by me, there's this qualification at the bottom of the pictures. So studio light, also known as artificial light, it's a wonderful source of light because it's fully controllable, fully customizable. However, it requires technical knowledge to set up, and moreover, they don't come cheap. They are usually quite expensive to purchase. So another source of lighting, front light. So what is front light? Okay, so basically it's the source of light where it lights up the front of your subject. Okay, let me show you this. I think you have a better idea. Okay, so imagine you are the photographer, and you are trying to take pictures of a subject. So when we talk about front light, so actually essentially the source of light, which if you look at it in the slide now, is the sun. So actually the sun is facing your subjects or objects. So this is front lighting. Why is this useful, or how is it how does it benefit your pictures? Okay, so first of all, I think it works best if the sun is not too harsh on your subject, because we must also be cognizant that being a photographer, the subject is also equally important, because if the subject is uncomfortable, they feel uneasy, very likely the pictures that you get out of it will not be might not be up to your expectation. So back to this, works best when the sun is not high up and not too harsh on your subject. So there is a time slot, where you can make use of front light in your photography, such as 7 to 9 a.m. or 3 to 5 p.m. Just treat this as a guide, because I think sometimes the weather the is different, it might varies. So okay, front light, it illuminates the subject, and it's really great, especially you have subjects with very colorful, very vibrant, very colorful outfits. Yeah, front light is a very good source of light. So it highlights the skin tone. It eliminates the shadow. Right? You see, in this picture, you don't see much of a shadow. So it's great for capturing motions. So so for pioneer residents, if you have kids running around, and you need to capture fast moving action, you might want to consider and make use of this front light. So the use case of front light is okay. It's it's quite predictable, and some of us they may look at as boring, but there is a use case for front light. It is to me especially useful for family group or wedding pictures, where moments like this cannot fail. If you have only that one chance to take a group picture and you know that you can't fail, you might want to consider to use front light as the safest bet to get the picture. Okay, next. So that was front light. So now next is side lights. So what is side lights? Okay, so the side lights is the source of light that hits, or rather that highlight the side of your subject. I love this slide. So imagine if you are the photographer, and if you're looking at the slide, so the source of light would be either from the left or the right side of your subject. So what's the use case? You see, side lights, it helps the subject to pop out from the rest of the elements in your photo. If you look at this picture, you see there's this reduction in the light tone, where it shows the clear distinction in the light on the baby. And I think that's where the audience eyes are drawn naturally to this intersection, or this distinctive change in the light intensity. So yeah, it adds a slight glow around the object, to make the picture more interesting. Oh, okay, and it helps to emphasize emotions in a very dramatic way. And I would personally suggest, if you are trying to take emotive portraits to show varying emotions, frustrations, delightful. So okay, another type of lighting would be backlight. Okay, so imagine you're the photographer. So backlight would be the lighting is placed, or rather is the lighting comes from behind of your subject. So it creates suspense through the creation of this silhouette. For instance, this picture, you can only see these two kids, and you can't really identify them, but it creates this mood, this suspense in the audience, like trying to lead them on, what's the next picture that's going to come, what are they looking far at. Yeah, it creates that mood. Creates an interesting contrast between the fore and the background. Okay, of all the lightings, this is the most trickiest to manage. But however, I mean, it has its use case. It's suitable, as I mentioned earlier. It's very suitable for creating silhouettes, for creating stories. As there are a lot of elements that are unspoken, it helps to create that lead on in the audience, wanting to know, what happens next, what's going on. Next, diffuse light. So what's diffuse light? So basically, okay, diffuse light is just, light that has been blocked. So some examples, like overcast, like the sky overcast, curtains, trees, or in fact this overcast, or I can still recall. That's how the argument between my wife and myself came about, because I would deliberately, cloudy sky, let's go out, family outing. My wife was, hey, what's going on, what's in your mind? But there is a purpose, So okay, I think this is quite clear. So yeah, so you usually place your subjects under the tree, where it provides shade from the direct sun. So that's how you deploy. That's how you use diffuse light in your photography. It's preferred by many photographers. Including myself, for its light and flat. Or rather, I think it creates that gentle mood. It places your subject quite comfortably, and it does not make them feel uneasy, which is important in your photography. Okay, last but not least, there's this thing called golden light, or you go online, they have many many what they call it terms. I think they also call it magic hour. So it's soft and warm. Um, it's really quite. Your subject won't feel the harshness of the light. So it's when is this golden light? Okay, so it's a period shortly after sunrise and before sunset. So if you can take this timing as a reference, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and or 6 to 7 p.m. Golden light, wow, see, you don't need to dye your hair, because very naturally it creates that reddish glow. So very quickly, the types of lights: studio light, is artificial but it's fully controllable, and front light, although it's predictable, the use case is if you do have that that single chance to make things happen, make things correct. I would strongly advise you to consider using the front light, especially for group photos. So sunlight highlights the subject. Backlight, yeah, very good for creating stories, creating a suspension. So views and golden light. Okay, and let me move on. Okay, so I'm moving on to the second segment on compositional techniques. okay, what's this compositional technique? You may wonder, it's not about, hey, give me more money. Okay, so this is about, shooting near and at the eye level of your subject. And the next compositional technique would be the rule of third. In fact, it's a timeless compositional technique. I mean, in fact, many photographers use it for the longest time, and me myself have been. In fact, yes. In fact, if you ask me, I thought this is my preferred compositional technique, which I've been using it, for nearly a decade. So, what is rule of third? Okay, so essentially, rule of third means, imagine your scene, your photo, and divide them into 9 equal rectangles or square. And the idea is to place your subject at any of the intersecting point. I think there's research, and the research goes on to share that the audience, the eyes are naturally drawn to find out what's on these intersecting points. So as a photographer, yeah, you will want to emphasize, you want to place your subjects at any of these intersecting points. I mean, to make a picture more interesting, to make a picture more lively and less boring. I mean, less boring in the sense that you always put that in the center, but let's shift them, a bit off center with this rule of third. So for mobile phones, I mean, as far as I know, so this comes as a setting in the phone. So to enable, if you turn on your camera app, you're not seeing the lines, you could go to your camera settings to switch it on. It's usually called grid, or I think in some of the phone it could be termed as rule of third. Yeah, you may just want to switch that on, and you will get it on your screen when you activate your camera app. And okay, so another tip. So you're shooting a human as a subject. Then naturally you want the eyes to be in focus. So the face, the eyes, yeah, we usually, for me, I will place them at the intersecting points. Okay, so I like to do a short, quick hands-on this. Give me a few seconds while my team helps to set this up. Okay, thank you, TV. Okay, I'm sharing my mobile phone screen now. Okay, and I'd like to show this. Okay, so in front of me is an antelope. And I mean, based on my personal and the participants whom I've shared my knowledge with, we usually or take a lot of pictures like this. We will stand far, and point at our subject, and usually it's on an angle where we point down the camera to the subject. Okay, so can you see? Okay, so if we apply rule of third and what I've shared earlier, shoot near, close, and at eye level of your subject. So this would be something like how it looks like. Oh, okay. And remember, as photographer, I mean, okay, we have control. Although I think some elements we're out of control. You know, if the landscape, you know, the mountain is there, you know, you can't shift it near or what. But there are many elements that we can control. You know, that means if your subject is not standing in the way, you know, that you expect it. You may want to give advice to make next time out in a way, you know, that according to the visuals that you have in mind. So okay, so this is how I will take this antelope. We just need to go near, and remember, if you're looking at living objects, your eyes must be focused. So this is how I will take my picture. This is how I will take my picture. I will go near, I'll tilt the camera a bit, I'll place his head at one of the intersecting points, and I'll go off like this. Okay, so let me recap. So this is the picture where I will take, you know, okay, okay, so this is the picture. One part apart, you know, looks a bit okay, safe, you know, I got the subject I want. But if we go near and we place his head at the intersecting point, and we shoot at eye level. That means bringing your camera down to the eye level, and we take our pictures. So there you have it. So this is one picture that we have just deployed. You know, the rule of third and stepping close and going near to your subject. Notice how this picture looks different from this picture. Okay, so very quickly, I mean, just to sum it up. So if you notice, I mean, there are a few pointers here. First of all, I think we don't need to get the whole subject into your photograph. That means I don't need to take the entire antelope to know that this is a picture of antelope. I can take parts of it, and yet the picture looks more interesting than what we would have taken if we took it from far. Agree? Okay, let me try this. Okay, I'll try to take from another position so that you can. Okay, again, so this is what we usually take from far apart. So now I want to go really close. Really close, you know. I'll lift my camera phone a bit higher, focusing on the head. So this is what I meant. You don't need to take the entire subject, you know, to make the picture look more interesting. You agree that this picture will look more interesting than this? Okay, so I hope you pick up something from this this quick, short, hands-on sharing. Okay, actually we still have some time. I can go through my yeah. There are just a few compositional techniques which I want to cover. So residents, consider to switch this read line on your camera. Go to your camera app. You can find it. Usually, it's called, you know, grid or square or layout or rule of third. So So another compositional technique which I use quite frequently, photographing subject near a window. So if you recall, I think under the lighting, it's what I'm trying to do is using side light to bring out my subject, like this picture. And when I say so when we say shooting at eye level, even for toddlers, if babies crawling on the floor, we really need to get down to their eye level, because if you don't do so, if you are just taking pictures, standing upright and taking pictures like that from top down, you usually capture a lot of pictures, their hair lah, pretty much a forehead, a bit of their nose. Those doesn't quite make an interesting pictures. So yes, get very low. Sometimes you may even need to prone down to take pictures of your subject. And sometimes, like this, you may want to lie low and you want to shoot upright at your subject. Okay, there's say something as a what do you call this, as a portraiture lah. That means we take pictures of human subjects. Human expression is very critical in your framing, in your photo. So yes, consider lying down low and shoot upright at your object to get that expression, the emotions that you experience at that moment. That to me, I thought that's quite important. This picture is taken by my very good friend, Stanley Poe, who is a very talented photographer. So this is framing. It's one compositional technique where you deliberately try to find a frame to frame your subject up. So if you look at this picture, so we could have stand outside and take picture of the those chairs, but by stepping into the room, the house, by using the window frame, so the end picture is a much more interesting and pleasing, and it tells a much richer story. Framing. Reflection. I particularly like this as well, and that's just another compositional technique that that you might want to consider. Okay, so I shared earlier. Especially if you are taking as human subjects, the emotions is very critical, and which part of the face that you must focus. You must always focus on the eye. Okay, if you're holding onto your smartphone, pointing at your subject, do tap. I believe most smartphones will have this auto focusing capabilities. So we just tap on the eye area, then automatically the phone will keep the face and the eye in focus. Okay, so this is a very interesting tip, which just a small tweak, and you're able to see that that alternate perspective to your picture. So what is this? It's just tilting your camera for an interesting perspective. Okay, let me just show you very quickly what does tilting means. So usually we will take pictures like this. So usually we will take pictures like this, what do you call this, like the waist length, So what does tilting mean? Tilting means, if you look at my phone, so just tilt a bit to the left, tilt a bit to the right. Yeah, you introduce a different perspective to your picture. Okay, if you look at my slide. So if you notice, the first picture is one that I take it upright with my phone upright. So the second and the third picture on my right, actually I took the phone, for the more, what do you call this, different, or rather interesting perspective lah. Oh, okay. So, okay, just very quickly, there's just a few post-production which I do, and cropping is one of them. And I just want to quickly share with you, and cropping can do wonders. And after this exercise, please look at the existing pictures and try to crop, and I'm quite confident you will be able to find gems in it. So, okay, so this is the before picture. A picture without cropping. So it's just my my daughter and her grandmother are having these very joyful moments together. But you see, this is what I did. I cropped the picture. We remove areas which I don't think is necessary, because I want, as I mentioned, a human subject. I like to emphasize the emotions, that the mood. So the end picture will look something like this. Okay, so you see the end picture is very focused. The picture is about that blissfulness, and that playfulness among the grandchild and the grandmother. So just another example again. So yeah, this could be one of the picture that you have right now in your phone. And if your intention is to emphasize the emotions among these two subjects, you may want to consider, removing other areas that they are not so necessary. So you see the end output is this. Okay, but I like to qualify. Cropping does do wonders, but does not do the impossible. Impossible meaning the picture must be properly taken at the very beginning. That means if it's blurred, it's blurred. You can't crop to make a picture look sharper. It doesn't work that way. Cropping just remove the areas that are not necessary and help you to, or rather help you or the viewers, the audience, to better focus on the subject that you want them to focus on. Okay, so very quickly, crop. There are a few tips that I want to share with the residents. I'm just very excited. I tend to share more. And okay, so tips on cropping. Yes, crop with a purpose. That means before you go into a picture and you start to cut the pictures off, cut areas off, do have in mind what you want in mind. That means end photo that you have in mind. You must have the visualization, and before you crop. That means you must know yourself, what story you want to tell. This is very important. So with that, these are just some of the tips that I want to share with you. So avoid cropping at joints. So you can see me. So when I say avoid cropping at joints, when you want to crop, please do not crop at the joints here. Joints here. The end output. It looks like you have just gone through some amputation surgery. So what do we mean by avoid cropping at joints? So where do we crop? We crop at upper joint. That means if really somehow you got to crop and your subjects will be affected, do crop at the upper joints. That your thigh, and not at the joints, and not at below the joints. So leave breathing space, especially if you have people in the picture. Leave some space in front of your subject. Otherwise, the picture may look a bit lopsided, like uneven. It most likely leave the impression that the picture was not properly taken, or perhaps the cropping wasn't done properly. So yes, cropping can help to remove unnecessary details, such as if you have a dustbin behind, or I think very commonly, where we take human subjects, there's this thing coming out from behind. So I think some of these we can consider to remove them so that the emphasis, the focus is really on your subjects. The last but not least, maintain the hairline. So if you look at the pictures, I mean, let's maintain the hairline. You can crop away some hair. I think that still looks okay. Okay, this is bonus. I mean, if residents, if you're into post-production, enhancing your picture, you may want to consider this apps. Snapseed, Pic Collage, or PicArt. I just want to quickly show you what Snapseed is capable of. It's a picture, I mean, they take, it's properly exposed, quite decent, but after putting some what they call it edits, this is what you can do with Snapseed. You apply the brush, you apply the lens blur, and you will get this. In very quickly, the before, and you can even make posters out of it. Okay, so recap. We have just gone through lighting. I mean, so do have those things in your mind. I mean, when you are out next to take pictures, be conscious as a photographer to adjust, to move your subject, to complement with the lighting that you have, and some of the compositional techniques that we have just shared. And I think if there's one key takeaway, all of this, I would really hope that you can go to your handphone, activate that rule of third, and start to take pictures with the rule of third settings, as a compositional technique. I'm quite confident that that you will take better pictures, with practice. And with that, okay, so this is my Facebook page. If you want to follow me, I mean, to what they call this, to get updates, about what I do for photography, and what I share about community. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Chin Ho. And we're not ended yet because now we are on the question and answer time. The last 10-15 minutes, we'll take questions from many of you. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, some of you may be watching this via watch party later on. Do watch the whole thing and pick up some tips. As an amateur photographer, taking pictures of kids, community, residents sometimes, and some of our events as well. Thanks for those tips. I think particularly on lighting, and of course making use of some of the softwares available. We are not advertising for any software, but I know there are lots of different apps that are free to use. Yeah, recently I downloaded one. It's called Lightroom. Not bad.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was a recommended app, so I just tried it, and it's quite good. You can actually adjust tones. So actually, there's a whole plethora of various apps that are free to use. Of course, if you want to use the high-end settings, and then you pay for it. But otherwise, actually, at the basic, very, very basic level, you can actually use many over and above what Chua had shared earlier. Many of the useful apps. But I thought there's some questions that came in. I know Mabel is tuning in, so Mabel is one of our friends, and she does a lot of cooking, and she takes pictures of her food. So today, she not covered quite a bit on taking pictures of family, friends, sometimes colleagues, or even scenery. But how about taking food? Is there anything to look out for? Are those principles still applicable and the same? Like the lighting, the angle, and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. I think first of all, I'm primarily a portraiture shooter. I think I shoot human beings most of the time.
Yeah.
So Patrick, so yes, I think those lighting principles which work on human portraiture photography. I believe you work on food as well. That means if you want to take a wide angle of your food, you may want to consider using what they call this the front light.
Okay.
Or if you want to create what they call this a different mood in your food picture, you may also want to consider deploying side lighting. That means placing the light at the side of your food. So that I think that creates a different interesting
Feel.
feel, yeah.
Especially I know some people like to take picture of their cake creations.
Yeah.
So even like strawberries on top, and then you take satellite, and then interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So up to you to explore. So that's I know most of us, particularly the community, love all this kind of stuff. We take the picture of the food that we eat, and you see nice dishes and nice food on our tables, and our creations. I know many of you working from home, so I know many of you do interesting things at home, baking, yeah, trying out new recipes and stuff like that. But there were a few questions that came in actually before this show, as well as in the midst of as we were chatting and then hearing from Chin Hong. I think one of the things the questions was, I know you usually use a DSLR, but increasingly people don't want to carry the whole load.
Yes.
So maybe any drawbacks on using a phone vis-a-vis a DSLR, and of course each has its own limitation. But especially you want to be spontaneous, you sometimes see a nice angle, and so any tips on what kind of cameras to avoid, what kind of settings to avoid, or because there are a whole host of different smartphones these days and different brands, and they really have different capabilities and sometimes quite high-end lenses. Yeah. So any pointers on that? Using phone as a camera.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Petra, I think that's a good and valid question. So I mean, which I often get from my participants lah. So for myself personally, when I go out in family outings, especially to places which I what do you call this? I think the outings that we plan for, like a trip to Sentosa, a staycation. So yeah, so during that trip, I will bring my
the DSLR.
Yeah, the camera, the DSLR. But I don't discount my mobile phone. That means there are situations where the mobile phone comes in handy. That means just as you mentioned that spontaneous moment, and especially for myself because I'm a portraiture shooter, the lens that is on my camera is a portraiture lens. It's a fixed lens. So if I want to take a wide angle, that means if I want to take my subject and plus the scenery, most of the time I will rely on my handphone, which is quite a reliable tool. Yes.
Yeah.
And
But I also realized that with the phone, having taken quite a lot of pictures in the community, going our estate here in Pioneer, is that it's always that light coming from the front, and you can't really. Sometimes the pictures get very dark and don't look attractive. So how can we remedy that?
Okay, so I think two ways. So just now as I shared, I think this sort of light is known as backlight. It's particularly challenging and common. I mean, we always face that. So on our phone, actually, if you enable our phone in its automatic mode, so actually, if your subject is in front of you and the light is behind you, so what you need to do is you can tap on your subject, tap on it, and you press and hold. You can move up and down. Actually, you can increase the exposure. So you're telling the camera, for my subject, I want it to be brighter.
It's not just iPhone, I suppose. Other phones also have the abilities. Yeah, but I know iPhone has this hack. Yeah, because I recently saw it in one of those Facebook news feed. I saw these hacks.
Yes.
You can just double tap and then you see a light bulb thing, and then you can increase the lighting.
Yes.
So besides grid lines and the other lighting thing.
Yes, that we can increase the exposure on your subject. So you tell the camera, you tell the phone, hey, I want my subject to appear brighter, because by default, it's dark, due to that backlight, So you can counter that. So the other option is doing that post-production, which is a bit more effort.
Correct. Okay. And another one is sometimes it's quite difficult to bring artificial light everywhere you go. So any pointers on using artificial light? Because nowadays all of us are working from home. Sometimes we are doing webinars or we are having virtual meetings. Now we are bringing lights over here, like in this in the community club here. We actually have 2 stand lights here to illuminate the place. So all this interesting stuff that we have. Any any pointers for some of us who are amateurs, whether we should buy them or
Okay.
or we can make use of existing lamps in the home?
Okay. So yes. So I think what I usually do. Because we usually go as family, and I think one of the challenges of mobile smartphone is low light
Yes.
photography, and so what we usually do, so the source of light, I'll use my wife's handphone. You can just on the flashlight.
Oh yeah, that's one good
Yeah,
tip.
it's on the flashlight. Shine it on your subject, and you have that supplemental. Light.
That's one way,
one hack lah.
Yeah, because at night usually, unless you have a lot of features in your phones, I think always the challenge is taking pictures at night.
Yes.
Especially they're out for outing, like you on the barbecue at somewhere in the east or west coast, and it's always lighting is always one of the biggest challenge. Yeah, so you heard the pointers. You can combine, get a few friends, get a few passerbys to help you shine some light and get the pictures all better exposed. Another thing is I noticed you take a lot of family portraits and pictures. So one of the questions that came in was, children always get distracted. When you take pictures of your infants, I have 3 kids, so I know how it feels. You have to take probably many pictures before you finally get the right one, the right angle. So any tips on, especially taking photos of your children, particularly when they are easily distracted and looking everywhere except the lens. And especially even more challenging when you have 3 children and they're all looking at different directions. Any pointers on how you get them?
Try to overcome or try to minimize the distraction.
Yeah.
So okay, so there's something I like to share. As you look at my pictures and as you look at other pictures, that you might come across Facebook or whatsoever, there's one what do you call this? There's something I want to share. You may want to take note that some pictures might be staged. Stage meaning choreographed. That means it's okay. So for me, when I want to take pictures of my children, I still recall the early days. I try to distract them. Or rather, if I want to take them, my wife would even get
your toy,
their favorite toy. Yes, their favorite toy. That naturally there's a natural attraction to them. Just put it up above your head, or you can stop. Or rather, you can say things like, if you do this properly, or rather, even before the photo shoot, preempt, tell them, okay, if you have after this photo shoot, we'll be going to have something nice.
So in a way, that's for portraits. I also noticed you have quite a few spontaneous pictures. They're also quite nice.
Okay. So for those who get spontaneous picture, okay, so as a photographer, we need to anticipate. I think that anticipation is important. That means even before you try to take a picture of your kids, you must first of all have that visualization. What's the end picture that you want to achieve, and you must anticipate that. That means if you're gonna you visualize your kids running to get what they call his toy box, you may want to stand by your camera at that position, and you might give instruction. Hey boy, do you want to go and get your favorite toy? I think now is the time to play. So that you stage meaning you gave the advice, you condition, so when you walk over, you're ready to take that shot. So that visualization and anticipation, I thought that's quite important.
Okay, that's a good tip for us. And well, there are quite a number of questions, but I try to pick some commonly asked ones. Well, there's another one. Early on, you shared a few of the softwares. Any particular one that you personally use to do photo editing?
Photo editing. I'm using Photoshop, but it's just really to perform simple edits like cropping, and sometimes I do want to remove certain objects. But that's quite minimum because there's quite a lot of work.
So you try to get the best picture at the onset rather than try to have a lot of editing tools. Great. And well, you told us you got into photography something like a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
After your kids came on board, and So how has been the journey? I mean, now you end up doing a lot of stuff and with all these pictures and all the books and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I really thank God for advancing so far, where this hobby, took on a more serious form, which I use it to advocate, strong family values and the Asian value of filial piety. So, I think it's ever to call this life learning journey, lah. Now I quickly look back at this flashback when I look through tons of YouTube videos, and because I'm a self-learned photographer, that's my richest resources. I look through YouTube videos and and I think ultimately, very importantly, practice. For photography, like other crafts, you have to practice lah. Otherwise, all this knowledge, just stays in here and just keep on.
You back out your pictures?
Oh yes, I've not one, but I think three hard disks. ABC.
I remember once, I took a video of my elder son. He's now 17 already. His first walk, saw it in my laptop. That very week I went for a trip.
Precious.
The whole laptop crashed and there was no backup then. I mean, I didn't do a backup, so there goes lah. But like I said lah, so that's a good pointer for everyone who's tuning in. Do backup photos. But the only challenge these days is not so much hard disk space. I think it's more, the time to. Sometimes you go for holidays. Now that we can't go on holidays, you take a lot of pictures at home and in the neighborhood of things that you're doing at home. In and around exercising sometimes, or even some of the hobbies that we do, or cooking and or going out. Now that we can go out with family and meals, so we have tons and tons of pictures, especially on the phone. After a while, you notice, wow. So the challenge is how to back up them in a very contemporaneous manner and do the relevant settings. So that's one important point. I hope everyone can take with you. And okay, so now that we are into the last 2 minutes, any parting thoughts or tips or pointers for our residents that spend the last hour or so with us before we end this evening's Connect at Pioneer? Any parting pointers besides light? I picked up some useful tips from you as well, like lighting, the angle, and then of course some of the pointers on using techniques. Yes, of course. Not everyone's on the grid. Or when you have photos, you make sure you have a grid lines on so that you know your various rules. So thanks for those pointers. But any parting thoughts for us, especially now that many of us working from home-based learning and hybrid kind of next normal, and can't really go overseas yet and can't take nice scenery photographs. Any pointers for us as we now strengthen the family, like what you say. Now we're spending even more time with the family, particularly in this neighborhood, and going out to the nature parks and trails and various parts of Singapore more. Any pointers on grabbing nice pictures and stuff like that?
Okay. I think apart from what I just shared, lighting, compositional techniques, I think as a photographer, I think it's important to know what we want to take. That means there are many genres. We have portraiture, we have sports photography, we have bird, we have food. Some principles are applicable across, but I personally feel that I think if we choose to focus on a particular genre, I think it helps us to to be more focused and a genre, and that makes us to be more curious about the genre, and in turn it leads us to
more knowledge and more expertise in it.
Yes. I think that helps us to grow in our photography journey. So I think it helps to try to identify one or two genre. And you want to focus on that.
Yeah, so that's Chin Hop for you. If you're into maybe taking pictures of your food, your escapades around Singapore as we explore more of Singapore, in and around the Pioneer neighborhood, the Jurong Central Park, and many parts interesting. And of course, even nature, since especially being in the West, we are so near many of the nature areas, and even within our neighborhood, sometimes you see a lot of nice greeneries and stuff like that. And with our family members more with us these days and more contact time, we hope today's Connect Pioneer has given you some useful tips and pointers. And so thanks, Chin Hock, for coming all the way here to Frontier Community Club and sharing with us at this Connect Pioneer series for this evening in this month of August. And again, happy National Day. Like you said, photography can really build families and strengthen family bonds and ties. So make full use of that opportunity as we spend more time with family and home, during this entire pandemic. And before we end tonight's session, a few pointers to everyone. We have this monthly Connect at Pioneer series. And over and above that, we also have the Digi Connect at Pioneer series, where we talk about fintech and some of the latest updates in this digital space and in the fintech space. So look out for all these through our Pioneer community page, Facebook page, as well as Insta, SG Pioneer, and our Pioneer community Telegram. If you are not already on it, be on it, because we actually update, a group of our volunteers actually update all these platforms on almost on a daily basis to bring to you the latest happenings, events, activities, programs, and good stuff. I mean, all the good stuff for each and every one of you, particularly living in the Pioneer community. So I appeal to all our residents and friends and those who live, work, and play within, or even study in the schools in the Pioneer area to be on our Telegram, Insta. If you don't want to be on Facebook, I know the younger ones want to be on Insta. Be connected with us, and we will keep you posted on all these interesting activities. And before we end today's session, we thought, give us a feedback. We are doing a series of sessions. We are coming almost to a year since we started this Connect Pioneer series. Yeah, so we're coming to a year, and every month we have nice, interesting table topics. From the very first session, a very impressionable one from wills, estate, and lasting power attorney, to today, photography. We had aquaponics and a few other interesting topics. So let us know what you hope to hear or see or watch for our Connect Pioneer series, and we will bring them to you. Some of these interesting and useful topics to give you practical handles, tips, pointers to make working, living, playing within our community even a better and more joyful experience. And on that note, you've seen we have put up the QR code on screen to help us to fill up this feedback so that we can bring more exciting programs and topics to each and every one of you. And on that note, again, a big thank you to all our Connect Pioneer volunteers actually behind the camera. Yeah, probably you can probably have a sneak peek of them. What I was doing is photography earlier. Yeah, there are a few of them who are powering this. They are our Pioneer residents. And a big thank you to this Connect Pioneer community volunteer team for every month. And then it's a lot of work behind bringing this series. Behind the scenes to coordinate, to also coordinate with our speakers, and again, a big thank you to them. And if you are living in Pioneer constituency and want to help us out in our various community volunteer groups and interest groups, do drop us a note or drop us a private message via our various social media handles and platforms. And we'll be glad to receive you with open arms. And we really want to bring our Pioneer together to our various programs to better care, connect, and create a better life environment for our Pioneer residents. And on that note, have a great evening, and we hope you join us in the next Connect Pioneer series. Thank you.